You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in their three great Niagara region locations. Thank you those that are tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel, and those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio podcast platform. Brandon Caputo and guest Reece Doumani of the Dawgcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network, here to break down a Thursday night canine matchup between the Niagara IceDogs and top-seeded Brantford Bulldogs in front of 3,027 at the Meridian Centre. Again, make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. The update with all of our IceDogs coverage as well for our friends over at the Dawgcast at the Dawgcast Pod. Reece, thanks so much for being able to join us tonight. Obviously, you're up here with us covering the Bulldogs tonight. Colin Ward was unable to join us tonight, but I know his rough thoughts is now out as well. But again, we're going to break down this 5-0 win for the Brantford Bulldogs. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch and everything regarding the game. But thanks for joining us tonight.
Of course, Brandon. Yeah, absolutely. Love to do it. Love to be here. Still kind of feels like home a little bit after interning for 3 years here at the Meridian Centre, albeit that was about 6 years ago or so. I'm old now, but Colin Ward at home. It seems like we can never come here at the same time. It was just Wardy last time the Bulldogs were here. Last year, I think I made the trip every time, but Wardy didn't. I mean, a little bit easier. I'm only 10 minutes away, but always happy to be here, Brandon. Always happy to accept an invite to join you here.
Absolutely, and I'm sure you were happy with the result tonight in the Brantford Bulldogs side of things. And again, this team, and I guess we'll start there, Reece, because the Bulldogs are undefeated in regulation still, but I'd say the last week or two they haven't been playing themselves. So, again, when you have such high expectations as this team does, as a team that is looked at as the favorite in not only the OHL but possibly all the CHL, how do you see a team like this from a game in and game out basis be able to hold that standard? Because when you go in expecting to win these games, it can be easy to just sort of have other teams come in with their best effort against you. But it seems like the Bulldogs time and time again are able to, even like we saw tonight against the IceDogs, it was a 0-0 game after the first, and then they just kind of took over when they needed to. Yeah,
we've seen that a couple of times, and really this was the best game for the Bulldogs since their Michigan trip, which was 2 or 3 weekends ago, where they go into Flint and it's similar situation as to this game. No score after 20 minutes. 2-0 after 40 minutes in Flint, and then they scored 5 in the third, and it was 7-0 before you knew it. And then the next day in Saginaw, they win 6-2. But since then, it had been quite a few close games. I'll give it that return game against the Flint Firebirds. The Firebirds were really good, and they're on a heater right now. But even the next day against the Brampton Steelheads, it was a team in the Steelheads where a game after Dragusica takes a baseball swing and gets suspended indefinitely pending review. A Steelheads team that doesn't have the talent they did last year, and they come into Brantford for the second time this season after, by the way, that first time they met in Brantford, it was 9-0 Bulldogs after 2 periods, and it ended up being a 9-3 game. So, it just seemed like, and I don't question effort. I don't criticize effort at all. These guys are playing at a very high level that I was never even close to. I was one of your house league heroes in the Hespeler, Ontario area. But, for the Bulldogs to see a complete 60 minutes where it just seemed like they were in the right position the entire game. They made crisp passes. They were hard on the forecheck down low in the offensive zone. And the IceDogs just didn't have an answer. And that's, I'm not going to knock the IceDogs at all. They've got some talented guys on this team. Kevin He, Ryan Robrick. Like, you think of those two guys leading the way. Riley Patterson, one of the newcomers this year. But they didn't have an answer. Just the Bulldogs are 4 lines deep, despite missing their 4th-line center in Lane Gallagher, who is a face-off wizard. The IceDogs didn't have an answer, and that's what the Bulldogs are. They want to be that team where you come in and it's intimidating no matter what building you're playing in, whether it's the TD Civic Center, whether it's here in Niagara, whether they have to go up to Sioux for the one and only time in a season. They want to be an intimidating team to play against. And, yeah, they haven't lost in regulation, but, it hasn't been a perfect season to this date. There have been things that Jay McKee has pointed out that he'd like to see improve.
Yeah, and we're going to get into the game stats here, starting things off here. And as always, that's brought to you by J&L Flooring. If you think you're a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack. Contact them at jnlflooring.com or their Niagara Falls location to begin your quality flooring project today. And we kind of mentioned it, Reece. The first period shots 8-3 in favor of Brantford, but it was a 0-0 game after the first period. And then Brantford outshot the IceDogs 25-15 in those last 2 periods. Ends up being a 33-18 total in favor of the Bulldogs. And the IceDogs haven't outshot their opponents very much this season. And again, I know shots on net can sometimes be misleading because technically you can take a shot from the blue line that has no chance of going in and it counts as a shot, right? So It depends on the high danger scoring chances. But throughout the game, I just felt like the IceDogs weren't really getting that sustained zone time, and really, if they had a chance, it was like a quick one and done. They didn't. They weren't able to work the puck around or get multiple rebounds or multiple opportunities in an offensive shift. Where the Bulldogs, I felt like at times they were able to just go to any part of the ice and have 2 or 3 really good scoring chances. And Vladislav Yermolenko started tonight, and I think this could have been an 8-9-0 game if it wasn't for Yermolenko at times. Because really, if I look at maybe one of the 5 goals tonight, he'd probably want back. The rest of them, Brantford's got goals on a shorthanded 2-on-1, just some very elite talent on the other end, as you'll hear Krys Barch talk about, that this is almost like an American Hockey League team they were playing against tonight. Yeah,
it's wild to say that the first 2 goals for the Bulldogs weren't scored 5-on-5. You get that shorthanded marker, and then coming into the game, you knew one of the keys for Niagara had to be to stay out of the penalty box. This is a power play. It's over 40%, and it's not even close to the rest of the pack with how good they look. And Juracek capitalizes. So, you get 2 goals that aren't 5-on-5, which for the IceDogs you could look as a positive. Obviously, you don't like giving up shorthanded goals because it was an odd man rush shorthanded for the Bulldogs also. But then you give up a power play goal to the league's best power play, league's best offense, and you're thinking, okay, you know what, it's not a terrible spot. We just got to find a way to get our legs 5-on-5, stay out of the box, don't give them chances on the man advantage, and let's see where we can get. And you're right, it seemed like there were way too many one-and-dones for the Niagara IceDogs in the offensive zone, right? They get a quality shot on Leenders, and credit to Leenders. I thought his rebound control was really good tonight. Those shots that were in good spots weren't left to be banged home in the slot or at the side of the cage. I thought he did a really nice job deflecting rebounds away from the front of the net. So that's tough for the IceDogs. It's a learning experience, right? And it's going to be pretty similar on Saturday against the Barrie Colts when they come to town, who they're just as hot right now as the Bulldogs are. So it's you learn a lot from these games, right? 5-0, yeah, you don't score. 18 shots isn't awesome to see by any means, but also, now you know what it takes to be the top level of the OHL and the Canadian Hockey League, and what it takes to be an elite hockey club.
Yeah, that's the highest benchmark you can get to right now is the Brantford Bulldogs team, and again, the IceDogs will play them again later in January down in Brantford, and that's always
it took long enough. What the heck's up with that?
This scheduling
not coming to TD Civic Center for a while.
I miss going there, even though it's been a house of horrors for the IceDogs for years. But as you mentioned, Brantford's top-ranked power play. The IceDogs, if you want to take a positive out of it, they were 2 for 3 on the penalty kill against the top-ranked power play, even though at that point in the game they're up 3-0.
Well, and I think that goes back to what you were saying about how Yarmolenko played. Really 1, maybe 2, but I'm leaning closer to 1 as well that he'd want back. But other than that, it's a team that can move the puck really well. Yarmolenko was scrambling a few times in his net. Really, the Bulldogs not giving him an opportunity to get set for shots. So, again, that's just how skilled the Bulldogs are, and Yarmolenko did everything he could in this game. It seemed like the D were invisible sometimes in front of Yarmolenko tonight.
Yeah, the IceDogs 0 for 3 on the power play, which, again, they're at 12.7%, which is last in the Ontario Hockey League. And you'll hear Krys Barch talk about they just continue to try to work through things. They tried 5 forwards tonight. That didn't work. They tried some different things, and again, that's a unit that's been snake bitten all season long, and you just wonder where they could possibly be right now if that power play it goes from 12% to even 15 or 20%, where they could possibly be right now in the standings. But the only really positive tonight, and I know I'm going to hear from Colin Ward, that the IceDogs they did lead in one category today. That was face-off wins, and you mentioned Lane Gallagher being out is a big.
I don't know how accurate those face-offs are.
It says 39-13, and again, that seems crazy to me.
Chance.
Apparently, Jake O'Brien only won 1 of 16.
Yeah,
I don't know how accurate that is. And they also have Ethan Zada winning 14 of 14. So,
we saw Jake O'Brien beat Ethan Zada on a face-off right in front of us. So, I mean, that's all I'm going to say.
Riley Patterson was 10 of 12 on the dot. Ivan Galianov 10 of 12, and Ethan Zada was we'll put in an asterisk, I guess, 14 of 14. But again, that's one of the strong points of his game. So again, nice to see there. But that was really the only, I guess, thing that you could say the IceDogs really controlled over the Bulldogs tonight in every single aspect of the game. The Bulldogs were just better, simply flat out.
Yeah, they were better, right? And I definitely think the IceDogs won the category of face-offs. I don't think it was that lopsided, but I definitely think they were a little bit better in the circle tonight. And to be successful, you got to be able to start with the puck more often than not. And I mean that again shows you the Bulldogs that if they don't start with the puck, they're going to find every way possible to get it back as quick as possible. So you saw that as well in this game, just the Bulldogs' ability to, they lost the draw, but they can get the puck back. And for the IceDogs, that just means you have to be a little bit better protecting it. And again, that's something I'm sure that Barch and company will go over on video saying, hey, yeah, look at this. We got this face-off. This is what happened immediately after and what led to a turnover. What could we have done differently in that situation? I'm sure that'll be a big talking point.
They led in the face-off dot, but then nothing came of it.
You
know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's one of those things where, again, a statistic is only a statistic. It doesn't. How does it relate to what actually happened in the play? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So again, we're going to take that statistic with a very much of a grain of salt tonight. But we'll move on to our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. As you mentioned, Reece, that shorthanded goal by Merrick Van Acker, first of his 3 goals on the night. A shorthanded goal, I think it was a 3-on-2, kind of cut to the center. And that, to me, that was one that I think Yarmolenko does have an opportunity to stop, but it gets the Bulldogs on the board, and really a big momentum shift in the game because Niagara's on the power play. They might be able to get the lead, which is something they haven't done since October 31st against Brampton. So you know that they wanted to get off to a hot start. Cole Cooksey had a goal waved off, by the way, that I forgot to mention. It was deemed that he kicked the puck in. So the IceDogs, as opposed to having a lead, they're down once again, and it was only the first of many for the Delhi, Ontario's Merrick Van Acker.
Oh, Colin will love that one. I mean, that's what the Bulldogs can do. They're so dangerous and they're so deep that you have to be aware shorthanded. And for the Bulldogs, it's hard for the best NHL team to have an odd man rush shorthanded, and even for the Bulldogs, right? And again, that goes to Niagara. Maybe guys just getting a little bit too deep and not being ready to get back, not recognizing what's going to happen in the offensive zone. So, just unfortunate for the IceDogs because you give up a shorthanded odd man rush, something really bad went wrong.
Yeah, it definitely was not. And I think that was one of the power plays where the IceDogs had 5 forwards on the ice. And again, when
No defenseman. Yeah.
That is a double-edged sword because, yes, you have the offensive capabilities, but then you're also susceptible to way more shorthanded opportunities for the other team. And we've seen the IceDogs multiple times this year with that 5-man forward unit on the power play give up shorthanded goals.
Yeah, well, and in those situations, I think you also need to say from your goaltender, understanding that some odd man rushes might happen having 5 forwards on the ice. They're not used to skating backwards hard, trying to block lanes on a rush. It's normally you like to have that one defenseman out there for that reason. But also, too, like I said, you're hoping that your goaltender can come up with a save in that situation. And like you said, it was probably one that Yermolenko would like back because he did have a really good opportunity to make a save. Just didn't. And that happens, but I think he'd really like a save in that spot.
Niagara's now given up the most shorthanded goals against in the Ontario Hockey League, now tied with the Saginaw Spirit with 6. So, again, when they're trying to work through a power play that's working at the last in the Ontario Hockey League, that's kind of going hand-in-hand correlated there. But moving forward, a really nice goal by Adam Juracek on the power play. A really nice cross-ice feed from Jake O'Brien, finding Adam Banach with the really nice touch pass to Juracek. And again, that one was just a one-time bomb, and I'm not even going to blame the goaltending on that one. That was just a really nice setup, near the high slot. Started off with Jake O'Brien, and you just got to tip your cap to him on that one. And then later in the second, Merrick Van Acker gets his second goal from Edison Engel to make it 3-0 before the end of the second.
Yeah, 2 goals that the Bulldogs, those are goals they weren't getting over the last couple of weeks. It was, teams like for Flint and Brampton where the Bulldogs just couldn't get the next one to find a way to help put the opponent away and to get the next one just 5 minutes after Van Acker opened the scoring from Juracek, and then to get that third one. I think that was big for the Bulldogs, right? You get into a situation where if Niagara gets one, it's a one-shot game, and I mentioned the stretch hadn't been awesome for the Bulldogs over the last 2 weeks. Does some doubt start to creep in a little bit? I'm sure it doesn't, but it's in the back of your mind. And I think for them to get those 2 to end the second period up by 3 was pretty big.
Yeah, and Van Acker, just a really nice move, turned the defender inside out for his 20th goal of the season.
Yeah.
We'll tip your cap to the Chicago Blackhawks prospect, and again, he's been kind of going through it lately, and he really came back with a solid rebound performance tonight. And then in the third period, Bulldogs opened the scoring 28 seconds in to that period to make it 4-0, and Van Acker adds his hat trick later on a 2-on-1 with Banach. But that top line was all +4 tonight with Banach, O'Brien, and Van Acker, and to me that was really the downfall for the IceDogs. I know the Bulldogs' other lines contributed a lot in this game, but that top line for the Bulldogs really took over tonight.
Yeah, they did. Those are 3 drafted NHLers that they will be NHLers in the future. Van Acker, O'Brien, first rounders. Banach, if he's 3 inches taller, is a first rounder, but he was taken in the 4th round by the Minnesota Wild. So, and even Jay McKee had mentioned that. Give him more height, he's a first rounder. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to match up against those guys, and even on the road for the Bulldogs, it seems like they've got the advantage matching lines. That gives credit to Jay McKee and how really good he is at doing that, but also how tough it is for opponents to match those 3 guys. It's really difficult to, and you're going to have your top guys. You want line 1 versus line 1, but this is a much different first line than we're used to seeing around the league.
And that's even with a guy like Nick Lardis with the season he had last year. Yeah,
think about it, he could have been back for an OA season, but he's thriving in Rockford right now. So credit to him, he's not coming back.
And from the IceDogs side of things, Reece, before we hit the break, and we're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the other side, when you look at the IceDogs defensively, and I know Colin Ward pointed this out to us, texting throughout the game, it just seemed like the IceDogs defensive structure in this game, the Bulldogs, after that first period, they really found those empty seams where they were just being able to get into the scoring areas, and the IceDogs' defensive coverage just was not there. And that's something that Krys Barch had talked to us about last week on our Dog Pound podcast, was they just need to play better in their end zone. And he challenged his veteran defensemen last week that they need more from them, and they need to do a better job when the other team has the puck in their end to being able to get it out and not have to have these sustained long shifts in the offensive zone for the other team, tiring them out, trying to get a whistle and things like that, and putting a lot of pressure on your goaltender. So from what you saw tonight, and again, I know the Bulldogs do this to a lot of different teams, again, when you look at what they've been able to do, but was there anything specific that you saw within this game that shows just, I guess, what the IceDogs can learn as to how they need to play when you're going up against a team like this, and to bend but not break?
Yeah, I think the big thing is to not play scared or don't play on your toes. You know, just because the Bulldogs are number one in the OHL, just because they're number one in the CHL. And we talk about it, Colin and I talk about it all the time. We've heard Jay McKee mention it. These power rankings mean absolutely nothing. You know, it's an ego ranking. When you look at it, it just builds up an ego, and sometimes ego's the enemy. So you can't really look at that if you're the IceDogs. You can't play like you're playing, I don't know, the Colorado Avalanche of a few years ago when they won a Stanley Cup. The best team in NHL history, the 2002 Detroit Red Wings. You can't act like you're playing those teams. It's another night. It's another OHL team. These players are in the league for a reason, just like you guys are. And you just have to stay calm and play calm. You know, I thought that at times they got running around in the offensive zone. And like you said, the Bulldogs, they do this. They've done this to a few teams so far this year. But for the IceDogs, I think if you play a little bit more calmer in your own zone, you're not running around as much, you're in your spot, and trust your spot. Trust what Krys Barch is telling you. You mentioned about that being something they want to improve on immensely, is they're playing their own zone. Well, trust the spot you're in and where Krys Barch wants you to be. You know, you don't have to cover the entire zone at once. You know, if you've got a long enough wingspan, you've got your stick out in a lane, it's on the ice, it's in a good spot. Trust where you are. Don't go running around, don't go puck chasing, but also don't get caught puck watching. So I think that's the big thing for the IceDogs, is playing a little bit more calm in your own zone. Don't play intimidated, and just trust where you are and trust what your coach is preaching to you.
And don't get beat inside, which is that's killer when you got a team like Brantford that has these guys that in tight, it's almost automatic.
Yeah, the middle of the ice against the Brantford Bulldogs, if that's open, puck's going to be in your net. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch and wrap up the show as well. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Right back after this.
Whether you just brought home a new furry member of the family or would like help finding something new for your picky eater, maybe you've done your research and want to upgrade your pet's nutrition from an entry-level food, the staff at any of the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region would love to help you out. Let them show you why our lesser-known premium brands are so much better than highly advertised big corporate brands. The value from the brands we carry is not only visible in the health and vitality in your pet, but also because you won't need to feed as much as with the other brands. Better nutrition from a longer-lasting bag. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street, St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Since 1999, Niagara Denture Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentureclinic.com. Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
Hey, this is Ryan Strom.
This is Carter Verhage.
This is Brendan Perlini.
It's Phil Tomasino.
You're listening to the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast, IceDogs game recap right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo and guest Reece Doumani of the Dawgcast on the Bulldogs Audio Network, continuing to break down the IceDogs 5-0 defeat at the hands of the top-seeded Brantford Bulldogs here on a Thursday night at the Meridian Centre in front of 3,027. For the IceDogs, that was their 21st game of the season. Currently 7th place in the conference. Bulldogs first place in all the Ontario Hockey League and have yet to lose in regulation. Thank you to those that are tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those listening the next morning on your favorite on-demand audio podcast platform. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, as well as on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So, Reece, back before we get to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch and his post-game comments on the game as well. When you look at it now, the IceDogs are going to await the Barrie Colts in a big divisional matchup coming up on Saturday. Right now, the Colts are 4 points at the time of recording this up on the IceDogs, so with 2 games in hand, and they have been on a very good streak as of late, have the Barrie Colts. So the IceDogs, again, they're going through this losing streak. They have to find a way because they got Kitchener next week as well, and then they have Peterborough coming in on next Sunday here at the Meridian Centre. But when you go through tough stretches like this, and it seems like when's the next win going to come, and you kind of have to earn it after having a good start to the year. Now you're in the middle of November, and you're still looking for your first win of the month. Like, how does the team mentally get through and be able to break through when it seems like no matter what they do, it's not going to go right now?
Yeah, I think at this point, you're on a long enough streak where you haven't won a hockey game. This is easier to say than to actually go out and do, but just treat every day like a new day. You can't act like you're playing like tonight. You can't act like you're playing the top seed of Brantford Bulldogs. Yes, it's a tough opponent. All teams in the OHL are. You can't take any night off. But you just got to go out and play the game. You got to go out and play a hard 60 minutes. You can't let your foot off the gas pedal by any means. It's the Barrie Colts who are hot, like you said. They'll be coming in on Saturday, albeit they are in action Friday night in Erie. So you hope to catch a few tired bodies on the Colts roster. However, we know Marty Williamson, and he's not behind the bench. He's in the front office now, but we know what his teams are like, and they're not going to take nights off either. So you just got to play a hard 60. Really, it is that simple. Kevin He missed a couple of games, so this might have been a I got to get back up to speed a little bit, and I'll be good to go for Saturday. But that's the way you got to treat it. You can't think about this one too much longer. You'll look at your video, you'll learn from this one, but you got to move on and move on to Saturday, and I think that'll start probably tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning if they decide to skate in the morning.
And you're going to be losing Ryan Robrick to the CHL USA Prospects Challenge next week. So you're going to have to figure things out without him in the lineup. Again, some other guys are going to have to step in and step up into bigger roles. We've seen with Kevin He out, Ryerson Edgar was gone. Before Brady Watson was traded, he was out for at the beginning of the year. And you had to rely on some of these other guys throughout the lineup, the Alex Hages, the Jacob Monkses of the world, who was not in the lineup tonight, the Cole Cooksies of the world that need to step into these bigger roles when their name is called upon, when some of your big stars are out. Yeah,
and injuries are part of the game. You can't use it as an excuse. Krys Barch will say the same thing. Yeah, we're hurt, but a lot of other teams have guys that are out right now too. Yeah. So it's not an excuse, and you're right. It's an opportunity. I heard a good quote the other day. I can't remember who said it, but it was a head coach in the NHL, and he said, I don't think I've ever had a player say he doesn't want an opportunity for a bigger role. And if he ever heard that, well, you have a one-way ticket to the minor leagues, to the American Hockey League, right? It's about the next man up. You got to have that mentality, right? When you're struggling, when you can't find a way to get a win, it just has to be an ugly one. An ugly goal in front of the net, an ugly win. Who cares if you get outshot? Who cares if you lose the face-off battle? If you have more goals, that's all that matters. So it might have to just be an ugly one by guys that step up and fill that role when Robrick leaves. So you saw it with Kevin He out for the last couple of games before this. Someone had to step up, right?
Noah Reed scored a couple of goals.
Yeah, you just can't leave that spot open. You can't. Somebody's got to move into it. So that's the way you got to look at it. It's an opportunity for someone to make some noise and earn more ice time and key spots in the game, whether that's late, trying to kill off a late penalty, whether that's trying to tie the game with the empty net. Like, these are the moments where you earn your ice time in those spots when you do move up for guys that are out. So that's what you got to do. You got to look for an opportunity and grab it.
And then teams are going to be losing players in December for the World Juniors. They're going to, other teams have to overcome this too at some point. Yep. So the IceDogs are no different, and they're a team that they have to have that organizational depth. And we've seen Frankie Vola, the general manager, make a lot of trades so far and a lot of big moves. So we'll see how sort of this plays out going into December. But let's get to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch, and his post-game comments, as always, are brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012. In honor of the late William Robert Hunter, here's what the IceDogs head coach had to say about his team's performance tonight against the Brantford Bulldogs.
Obviously a big test for you guys, the number one team in Canada. How difficult is it to play a team like that?
I don't know if it's difficult. I loved our first period. Wanted more of our first period. You know what? We again, you got the power play. We got a shorthanded goal against. We've tried, I think, every player at the top of the power play on our team. So, we're at the point now where, what do you do? But again, we need tracking, that you can't let a shorthanded goal up. So, that does kill momentum for you. And then they got a, special teams one-timer. And then again, just some mistakes off the rush. We got to, again, continue to develop our players, continue to, show up in practice and improve them, or continue to support the growth in them. We had some young mistakes. We had some, I guess, outskilled elements. You're looking at that decor on the other side. It's American Hockey League NHL decor.
Right.
Yeah. Like, you call a spade a spade. Right. They're elite. They're first-round NHL picks, multiple. They all could be in the American Hockey League right now.
Yeah.
So that's what really. If you look at what you're playing against and what the stimulus is, hey, I always look at it from a positive perspective. I love the first period. I thought we played defensive, and then again, detailed, and then again we get away from it. We turn pucks over. Again, make young, unstructured mistakes, and they'll make you pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, sports can be, momentum one way, momentum the other way.
Yeah.
You've lost 6 in a row now. How do you make sure guys don't get down on themselves and start thinking about things like that?
Honestly, for me, it's a daily investment. It's a reset every day. if you live life based on what happened 5 years ago, you live life based on what happened 2 years ago, you're not going to live life. I always say in sports, you need a short memory in the face of success and failure. And a lot of times more so failure, but you need that short memory because you know what, it's what you do that day, it's not what you did yesterday.
Absolutely, yeah. One thing, players that want to aspire to be play in the NHL or play in the American League, like you said, win a Memorial Cup, they can see how good they have to be when you see a team like this. Can that give them a kind of an eye-opening experience where it's like, you know what, this is how good we have to be where we want to get?
You know what, they've got players that have been drafted in certain situations. They've had players that have had different experiences, NHL camps. They've earned certain elements that some of our players haven't yet. So, I guess it is a stimulus that, shows them where they maybe want to be and what it takes to get there.
In one way, it's a yardstick where you are right now compared to the number one team in Canada.
Yeah. Well, like I said, if I take the positive out, I loved our first period. I thought we played structured. I thought we played together. And then again, we just cannot allow some of those unstructured elements. We can't do it to ourselves. Shorthanded goal against. Getting beat off the rush, multiple occasions. Some mistakes away from the play that result in outnumbered rushes. Again, it's back to teaching. Back to investing.
How much of a blow was that no goal?
Well, it wasn't a goal. So, for me, again, you move on. You look at the next shift. You look at creating your next break. For me to sit there and say, we lost momentum from a no goal, it wasn't a goal. So,
How do you keep Yarmolenko's spirits up? Because obviously, the team in front of him maybe, let him down on a few of those goals tonight, and making sure that his confidence is still high, even though it was 5-0 on the score sheet.
You know what? Ryan Ludzik, our goalie coach, does a great job with our goaltenders. He does a great job, creating that mindset. Again, a reset for him. You can only worry about what you can control. Maybe that's not some of the elements or mistakes in front of you or in front of him. So again, like I said, Ryan Ludzik does a fantastic job. He'll have him reset and ready to go here for his next start.
As far as what they were doing out there, and you said the first period was good, but then when you get into the second and the third period, and it seemed like they had an easier time sort of getting into the middle of the ice there, into those grade A scoring chances. So what do you guys have to do defensively to really lock down and really play a good style against a team like that when they could just come in waves?
Yeah, you got to play inside out. You got to take care of that slot, that house. We've got to come back and stop. We've got to get in shooting lanes. We've got to battle. Again, you get back to the drawing board. We did implement. We were man on man, so we did implement a box and one system probably about a week ago. So there are going to be some holes in that for the infancy stages of change. So we expect and know that we'll refine that. There were some real positives within that box and one that we played, and again, just constantly teaching. Get back to the drawing board. We got a game here in 2 days, which is nice. It's a quick turnaround. So again, we got to look at earning that positive feeling.
And lastly, you got your captain back in the lineup after being out with an illness this last weekend, and you've got basically your full lineup here. I know Robert's going to be leaving for the USA CHL Prospect Challenge, but with this lineup and this team really being the group that you're going to have going forward, what does it say to knowing that these are going to be the guys in that room and they have to figure this out and get out of this funk?
Yeah, they're all high character individuals. They're all high functioning people and players. So we'll be fine. We'll find a way. And again, we will move on past this. And we got a big game against Barrie. We got 47 games left in the year, which is a lot of games. Yep. So there'll be a lot of different talks that you and I will have over the next while, and hopefully, and I know we'll be a lot more positives than they will be negatives. So
thanks, Coach. There was IceDogs head coach Krys Barch on the Wild Bills auto repair postgame. Reece, again, when your team loses 5-0 on the score sheet, it's hard to come out and think of positives, but it seemed like Krys Barch definitely had some things that he wanted to talk about. He talked about the power play. They've tried every player really on there to try to get that turned around. He gave the flowers to the Brantford Bulldogs, saying it was basically an American Hockey League decor and team they were playing against over there, and they got to play inside out better and keep a team like Brantford to the outside, which we kind of talked about earlier. And the last thing from me was, he said, we'll be fine, there's 47 games left. Again, like the positivity, but again, they really have to clean up some of this stuff.
Yeah, and I like what he said about what they're implementing in their defensive zone with the box and keeping guys away from the middle and keeping them to the outside, and that's what the box is, right? You're gonna have a guy try to sneak into the middle. It's just you got to make the adjustment on the fly. It's not, we practiced the box in practice, we got to stay in the box. It's like, well, no, you have to make the adjustment on the fly. Yes, the box is your starting point. That's where you work off of. But you see a guy sneak into the middle, it's not just, I got to stay in my spot. It's making an adjustment and making sure that there aren't any open shots there. And again, he said it's something that's just starting to they're starting to implement. They're in the process of getting regular reps with it, and you're not going to get great results right away. It's impossible. It's going to take time. You might not see it work for another month, which, would suck and seems like a very long time, but it's not something that you're going to see an improvement on overnight. So I really took that away, and again, he's right. Look at the guys you were playing against on the other side. I mentioned the top line. All three guys are drafted. Danford was a first-rounder on the back end. Juracek is really good. Dravetsky wasn't expected to be a Bulldog this year. They get lucky, and he comes over. Engel coming up from the States, and Protz, who's a drafted guy, and it's just they got outworked by a better team. The Bulldogs were just better. I like that the IceDogs 3 shots might not indicate a great first period, but I think we talked about that earlier, where that really doesn't make a huge difference what the shots were. They could have been from way out if you have 20 of them, and they weren't dangerous at all. So, I thought the start was good, but it just seemed like they only played 20 minutes, and that was it. And the Bulldogs took advantage of that, like he said, on some of the young mistakes that the IceDogs made.
Yeah, and again, that first period was kind of sloppy to watch at times. Like it wasn't really like the IceDogs controlled the play and held the Bulldogs to like 9 shots. You know what? It was one of those periods where I think both teams would want to be better. It was just sort of like a feeling out period. There wasn't a lot of, other than the Cooksey goal that got waved off. It was. I didn't necessarily see exactly, like, obviously it was a good period because they didn't give up a goal. But to me, like 3 shots on net is not. It tells me that they weren't controlling the pace of play in the period either. They weren't. They were bending but not breaking. In neutral zone play, a lot of stuff just sloppy again on the Bulldog side of things as they're trying to really work through not the best week that they would have wanted last week, and then they got it right in the last 40 minutes. So. The IceDogs have had a hard time starting on time as of late. As I mentioned, they haven't scored the first goal since late October in a game. So do you start on time, and then what do you do going forward?
Yeah, that's exactly it, and that's what you got to do against teams like Brantford, against teams like Barrie. You get the Western Conference coming in. If it's Windsor, if it's London, Owen Sound, who's played really well early on in the season, like you have to start on time. Kind of sounds like a Mike Babcock line, but you have to right from puck drop, and sure, it was scoreless after 20 minutes. IceDogs didn't really carry the play. I thought they did a fairly decent job of limiting highly dangerous scoring opportunities for the Bulldogs, but other than that, 3 shots isn't awesome. Ryerson Leanders, this might be one of the easiest shutouts he's ever had. Maybe 1 dangerous chance in the first period, and that was it for the IceDogs, and that's just not enough through 20 minutes. So, it's you can look at it as 0-0, take that as a positive. It is what it is. The Bulldogs still controlled the pace in that period.
Yeah, they did. And the IceDogs have to get this thing corrected because they got the Barrie Colts coming in on Saturday night right here at the Meridian Centre. But before we get out of here, we're going to put Reece on the spot with our stick tap of the game, brought to you by Butt Ends Hockey Stick Grip, specifically for the top end of the stick, designed to replace traditional cloth tape. Check them out at Butt Ends, that's with a Z.com, and use our referral code ArmchairGM to get 10% off your first order. Butt Ends, the #1 grip in hockey. Reece, I know in a 5-0 game it's hard to pick a player of the game on the IceDogs side, but do you have anybody that you thought looked decent tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to be pretty honest with this one, and IceDog fans might not be a huge fan of me after this one. It's weird to say the goalie's going to get the stick tap after giving up 5, but the amount of mistakes that the IceDogs had allowing odd man rushes into their own zone, they hung Yermolenko out to dry. There was not one skater for the IceDogs that I said, you know what, he quietly had a good game despite the score. They were all just, I don't want to say they were passengers to the game, but nothing really stood out for me from any of the skaters from the IceDogs, right? It was Yermolenko making key saves and keeping the IceDogs in it for about half the game or so, and then that third goal goes in, and then fourth and fifth in the third. But it's got to be Yermolenko. He didn't get any help, and he made some key saves, 28 out of 33. Yeah, that doesn't look sexy on paper, but he didn't have any help in front of him. So that's my thing. Not one skater, opened my eyes. Not one skater made me go, you know what? I liked his game tonight. It was, like I said, the best word to describe that is they were meh. Like there was nothing special.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in the first segment, this could have been an 8-9-0 game in favor of the Bulldogs, if not for Yermolenko, with a couple of those big saves he made in the second period when the Bulldogs were really starting to take it to them in that game and really apply the pressure. So I'm in agreement. I think Yermolenko was the IceDogs' best player tonight. Again, he's not going to want that giving up 5 goals. But again, credit where credit's due. The Bulldogs definitely had some high danger scoring chances.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like goals against on the score sheet, you're immediately going to turn to goaltending. But the amount of 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s the Bulldogs had, I mean, you got to have defense somewhere, right? And it just didn't seem like they were around at all times today.
Yep, so the IceDogs got to turn the page quickly on this one because, as I mentioned, they got Barrie coming in, and then they got to go to Kitchener next week. So it doesn't get any easier, and they got to break out of this 6-game funk that they're in right now, get the power play back going, and get some sort of momentum here. But Reece Doumani from the Dawgcast, one half of the Dawgcast, along with Colin Ward on the Bulldogs Audio Network. Reece, thanks so much for keeping me company up here tonight, and then also being able to give the analysis on the postgame show.
Of course, Brandon. Yeah, I always enjoy hopping on with you here. I love this barn. I love coming to the Meridian Centre. It's, for me, convenient because it's 10 minutes away from where I live. It's an hour and 10 minutes to the TD Civic Centre in Brantford, maybe a little bit longer because they stupidly started construction during the busiest downtown part of the year. But I digress. I appreciate it, Brandon. Always happy to hop on.
Yeah, and it's usually in a Bulldogs victory as of late. So maybe we need.
Hey, I mean, so you know how the Red Sox had the curse of the Bambino? I think this is like the curse of the Rambino, like Reece or Reece Bino.
Yeah.
No, that sounds stupid. Maybe Rambino's better. I mean, the IceDogs have won twice since I stopped being an intern for the IceDogs and started covering the Bulldogs, whether it was for TSN 1150 in Hamilton or just on the OHL 60 podcast or the Dawgcast. They've won twice, and it was both last year. One of which I called. I think that was a 500th win in franchise history that I had, so credit to me for that. But the curse of the Rambino, we're going to go with that.
Yeah, IceDog fans, light Reece's Twitter up. If you want to make sure that he's...
Hey, you go where the money is.
Yeah, exactly.
TSN was paying me.
That's going to wrap it up for another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family and their 3 great Niagara region locations. Again, thank you to those that tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel and those who listened on your favorite on-demand audio platform the next day. So for Reece Doumani of the Dawgcast, my name is Brandon Caputo. That's it. The Bulldogs take it 5-0 in front of 3,027 here at the Meridian Centre. We'll be back Saturday night. Barrie Colts are in town for a big Central Division matchup. So that's going to be it. We'll talk to you again next week on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs.